fiber. This is another thing that always comes up when I tell people that I eat only meat. What about fiber?
Yeah, so that's a good topic. And so what I would say is fiber is conditionally beneficial. So if you're eating a standard diet, fiber really is a marker for diet quality, right? So if I'm some poor guy and I'm eating this potato chips and cookies, I don't get a lot of fiber. If I got a little more money, I'm probably buying the fruits and vegetables, probably out of guilt, but it generally represents higher socioeconomic status, better overall diet quality, and I think it's beneficial in that situation. But if you go like, is it providing anything that I can't get from meat? So there was a study that a guy named Tommy Wood and the other researcher was Mailer. I can't remember her first name, is female. They did a study looking at what happens to the microbiome, because we're always hearing, you need fiber to feed your microbiome, right? You need those short chain fatty acids. You need the butyrate or the butyric acid. Well, they looked at that and they said, look, our gut has incredible metabolic flexibility, and so even in the absence of fiber, you can get the same short-chain fatty acids from protein. You can get it from being in a low-carb state where you have, more ketones being produced, because, the main ketone that's in our blood is called beta-hydroxybutyrate, which is very similar to butyric acid. It's only one, hydroxyl molecule away, and it reverses all the time. So they indicated that we don't need fiber for that particular aspect. And the other thing, there was a recent study, because what I see is so many autoimmune conditions. I know you've talked to Jordan and Michaela, and you've seen these crazy autoimmune conditions, which I've seen in the thousands now. It's crazy, like Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, psoriasis, rheumatoid arthritis, eczema, asthma, anything. That there was a study looking at fiber actually exacerbating problems with rheumatoid arthritis because of its interaction with a particular bacteria called Prevotella coprii, I think, or something like that. And so we're seeing, high fiber diet synergizes and exacerbates rheumatoid arthritis. So basically, it's showing that, there can be problems with fiber for a lot of people, particularly if they have these issues. And so
when people say that fiber is beneficial, what they're essentially saying is that if you have a poor diet, if you have a diet that's rich in ultra-processed foods and garbage, fiber would be beneficial to you because it would help. What does it do? It helps.
Well, I think it's displacing the garbage off the plate, right? So if you load your plate up with fruits and vegetables, which I think generally, I'm not a guy that says vegetables are trying to kill you, and nobody should. I know there's other people. It's kind of funny. You talk about cults, and carnivores kind of become a cult, right? And it's not because of me. I tell people, hey, we're omnivores. This is a therapeutic protocol. Use it for as long as you like. If you want to do it for a lifestyle, have at it. It's fine. Dennis Burkett's the guy's name, and he says, they're eating a lot of fiber, but they weren't eating a lot of sugar, and they weren't eating a lot of garbage like they were in the UK, because sugar's been around since about the 1600s and progressively has increased. I mean, the US right now, it's kind of interesting, like compared to like the early 1800s, the average kid by the age of something like 8 has eaten more sugar than they would have in a lifetime back, 150 years ago. So it's kind of crazy. But
by the time they're 8?
By the time they're 8 years old, the average 8-year-old has eaten more sugar than somebody would have eaten in their entire life. And that's just the normal kids. You see some of these kids are just like, Jamie, I got a picture I got to show you. This is so incredible, Jamie. There's a gal before and after picture. We got this food addiction stuff. So I interviewed a gal. She was 800 pounds, right? It's like, how do you get to 800 pounds? It's like impossible. Like I don't think I could do it if I tried, right? Food addict, couldn't stop eating chocolate and ice cream and all that stuff. And this is her.
Whoa.
She's almost 800 pounds, 350 kilos, which is the most I've ever deadlifted. So that's kind of an interesting weight. But 22 months she goes on Carnivore, right? I interviewed her a while back, and she's now lost almost 500 pounds on Carnivore when nothing else would work for her. She told me, it was like, I finally found the off switch. She tried Weight Watchers. She tried like gastric band surgery. She tried vegan diet. She tried juicing. She tried Weight Watch. She tried every single thing you could think of, but could never stop it. And finally, for the first time in her life, she's like, I finally found freedom from this food addiction. And, recent studies show that that other guy in the hat, this is a funny guy. This guy in the hat right there, his name is, what's his name? I'm blanking on it. Todd. He's a dude out in Montana, right? He was 770 pounds, right? Same sort of situation. Started drinking Cokes when he was 14 years old. I'm doing an interview, and he goes, I didn't know who he was. And he starts telling me, he goes, when I was 14, I was 600 pounds. I'm like, what? 600 pounds at 14. Their poor family and his mom and sister and everybody in the family was, very obese, and they had tried gastric bypass and it didn't work for them. But same thing with this kid. I mean, he's just like, I call him a kid, he's 40. He went carnivore, and for the first time in his life, he's like, I don't need the sugar and I don't need the Coke. He was drinking like 20 Cokes a day or some ridiculous stuff. And he just blew up, and he could not stop until, and this is why, one of the reasons I think they know this. I mean, the food industry knows they're making addictive food. They clearly know that. In fact, I had a gal who worked for one of the major food manufacturing companies, and her job, she was a chemist, and her job was to design food to be as addictive as possible. And she literally told me that. She goes, I can no longer live with the guilt. I want to come work for you guys. And, she was just so, just beside herself. She says she realizes what she's created with this epidemic of disease and suffering. I mean, because these people are suffering. Did you see that movie, The Whale? Did you ever see that movie?
I did not.
It's good. It's an interesting movie. So it's Brendan Fraser, and he's like 700-pound dude. And it shows he lives in his He lives in his recliner. He can't barely get up. He can barely go to the bathroom. Refrigerator next to him, and his whole life is in. And this guy did the same thing. He said he fasted one time for 40 days trying to lose weight, and he never left his chair. He just sat there for 40 days and didn't eat.
Wow.
Can you imagine? That's like hell. That's like hell on earth. But now he's going back to work. He's getting out in the field, and he's doing electrical work or something like that. But I mean, it's just the sugar in one way. I know there's people out there saying, listen, not sugar's fine, it's all seed oils and stuff like that. But I think clearly there are people that are addicted to either sugar or sugary foods.